everyone, welcome back to the Tiger Den. I apologize for missing stream yesterday. I was very, very tired and exhausted, and it was a long day. Long story short, I am here today. I'm going to be working on Father's Day cards. We have a lot to get done. I have 8 cards to do. That should be enough to get me started on Father's Day cards. I hopefully will have enough to get through the season. Not a lot of people have been really interested in cards lately, so probably good there. Let me get some of this started up here on getting wet. Some blues, turquoises, cows, shiny. Okay, yeah. I think I got everything activated and good to start. I am very kind of tired today, so I'm not going to be the most energetic. I do apologize. I am trying to be very energetic right now. I've just had a very, very long day with a lot going on. I have bookmarks I got to take to a local place. I have some more bookmarks to make. I have these to make. I have a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff. So it's been challenging. Right now, we're going to work on the cow piece, which is this little guy down here. We're just going to do a very light wash of gray, and I mean very light wash. This just gives it a little bit of differential from the background. Might do a touch more gray, actually. That might dry a little too light. This is just to give that kind of white feeling of the cow, while also getting in some color to this body. So that way it can be differentiated from the background. I do have if I need it, my heat gun. That will help us dry faster if we need to, but I think with the 4 pieces that I'm going to be working on, I have enough variation that I'll be able to get all of them done without having to blow dry any of them. Now, a lot of these pieces are going to be fairly quick. I didn't do much background-wise. I just kind of did a quick design on the front and then a funny pun in the middle. So they're going to be relatively quick for us to do, which I do apologize. I don't mean to spend more time on Mother's Day than Father's Day. I just had a little bit more time to do Mother's Day ones, as I'd already started some of the floral ones. Where Father's Day I have like 2 weeks. Which, I don't know, maybe I can get some more designy ones later, but as of right now I can't rush them, or I have to rush them. Okay, so that one is now up for drying. Now we have Darth Vader, everyone's favorite evil guy. I'm gonna kind of activate this dark brown here. Might make it a touch more dark. We're gonna take some of that black. Nope, that didn't take any black. Come on, give me some black. There we go. Just kind of darken it up a little bit more. And we're just gonna paint over him. I'm going to make his mask and his eyes the shine on this piece. So I want to make his helmet very, very dark. And his neck piece kind of lighter. So we're starting with that helmet, making it nice and dark, and then we'll let it dry. And then I'll do his neck piece a little bit lighter. His face will be a pure black. And then his eyes and where he breathes out his mask will be this shine on this piece, because you know I gotta have shine somewhere. It looks like I also forgot about the little head part here. That I will also make pure black, so I am running low on this kind of browny black. I'm trying to get enough that it actually darkens here. I think I'm going to take a touch more black and just kind of mix it in. This will both darken it and give us a little bit of thicker shading here. Thicker paint. So watercolor is known for being transparent and showing the color behind it, which is part of why our colors lighten up and they show a lot of that lovely white behind it. That doesn't mean I don't want it to be a nice black here right now, though. There we go. That should be good. And then, like I said, we'll do the face. We'll do the neck, which apparently is not going to be that light. So we're going to try and steal some of this one. Activate this one's. Come on. Take some of that brown here to darken it. And I should be able to get away with doing the neck right now. Take that black and darken it even further. Take some water to water it down. Then we're going to just kind of lightly go right here. And as you can see, that is a different shade of black, which will help it stand out. And it's a slightly lighter shade of black. All right, there is the neck. Oh, hello, Matt. Thank you so much for the first. I appreciate it. Good afternoon. And thank you for the hydrate. I shall hydrate with some water. Oh. Did start a touch early today, only like 3 minutes early. Compared to what I said I was going to on the Discord. But I am started an hour early compared to normal, just because of the fact that I missed stream yesterday. And to top that off, I had a lot of, I have an appointment today. I'm going to mix this in here with a little bit of gray. I have an appointment today at 3, so I'm starting a little early so I can make it to that appointment. Now I'm just trying to mix this water in with some brown. Right now it's going to be a very, very light brown because I put a lot of water in here. I did forget to grab my colored pencils, I do believe. Yeah, I don't have my colored pencils up here, so the wood grain will have to wait on this particular axe. But we will make it work. Now, unfortunately, like I said earlier, these Father's Day cards are not super detailed. They don't have a lot going on with them. I just kind of rushed the design because I'm rushing to get it done in time. Since Father's Day is like 2 weeks out and I have like 2 sale periods to sell them. I'm only making about 8 cards, so that will help with my inventory. But, yeah, I need to rush them out so I have a chance to try and sell all 8 cards. Right now I'm just dropping in some of that darker brown, trying to get it on one edge instead of the other, but it's not working with me. So that'll dry. We have a cow, we have Darth Vader, and we have kind of like a congratulatory plate, I guess, is if you want to call it that. I'm gonna wet up this pan a lot because I do want this to be slightly fluid and slightly see-through. I'm gonna spread it around. I probably should have wet my paper first, but that's okay. We can make it work. Now there is a slightly, I'm gonna wet this some more. There is slightly, how do I put this? There is some eraser lines. That's what I'm looking for. The word eraser line. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. There are some eraser lines toward the bottom of it because I did make the achievement a little too big at first. But that's fine. I can make it work and you won't even notice them. Touch more on these edges here. I'm gonna wet it. Yeah, I probably should have wet it first just to give it a little bit more even coating. But it's fine. Everything's fine. Drip a little bit more in here and there. I'm just going to spread it out. I did start with the darkest blue, which probably wasn't the smartest idea, but it'll be fine. Everything's fine. I got this. Now the cow looks like it's already dry, so I can go in with that. And we're just going to keep rotating through these 4 until they are all done. Now the cow is still a little wet in some places, but that's okay. Where I need to paint is not that wet. So we're just going to put a little bit of a... Oh, nope, that's very wet. Okay, nope. We're going to dab that up real quick. Oops. Okay. Heat gun. Heat gun time it is. Darth Vader might have been dry enough, but I wanna try and keep this in rotation. So it was actually funny. On Thursday, I went to the farmer's market. I don't know if I talked about this Friday, but I went to the farmer's market and I was working on some cards, and all of a sudden, my heat gun died, and I was like, oh, I forgot to charge it. So here I am in the middle of the farmer's market, like 2 hours in, with like 3-4 hours to go, and I had no heat gun, so I had to do the old-fashioned, kind of wait for it to dry crap. Sucked. Okay, that should be dry enough now. I am going to go in on those hooves real quick. I know this isn't like super black for the hooves. I can go in with this over here, I guess. There we go. That makes it a little bit more blacky. Now, there are a few places here that I need to do different colors on. Cows usually have a pink udder, so I'm going to do a shiny pink udder, which I think I activated. Did I not? I did not activate. So I'm going to go into the spots first, give that pink time to activate, and then I will go after the pink. And that should essentially finish this cow. And as you guys know, all my cards have a fun little like pun on them, which is always entertaining. Alright, we're just kind of putting some spots here on this cow, and I'm apparently having some gas. I was really sick this morning. I actually vomited. So I don't know how long I'm going to stream for, if I am going to do the full 2 hours or 2.5 hours till 2:30. But I'm going to try and do as much as I can because I have, like I said, I have 8 cards I got to get done. Got a little tail here. Now the horns I do believe are silver. If not, they're going to be silver now. And then once this all fully dries, I'm going to go in with the fine liner, which I found. Couldn't find it the other day, but I found it now. And we will go in and create more of those details. So now we're going to go in with that pink on the nose. And the pink udder. And notice I'm painting where the colors are not touching each other. If they were to touch each other, they would bleed together and it would cause not what I wanted, basically. There we go. There, a nice udder. We got a nice nose. Pull out some of that silver so it doesn't look, oop, not water. Just pulling out some of that silver so it doesn't look so dark. Then, like I said, we will finish it up with some fine liner, write Happy Father's Day, sign it, and then write the note on the inside. I'm going to swap over to the axe here because that is basically just down to the silver. And it looks like it is dry enough that we can do the silver. The silver is very, very active right now. It's almost like a thick paint. It feels like acrylic, I should say. I'm not going to add more silver. I'm just going to wet the silver that's already there for now. Just till I can get a nice coating on here. And from there I can decide if I want more or less. And I think I'm liking how this wet versus thick is looking right now on this silver axe. And I may add some backgrounds to some of these, like the cow I might add some like grass to, the axe I might add like a log, you know, something just to give them a little bit more depth and more to it. But as of right now, I am just trying to get these done as quick as I can. Okay, so now like I said, the stripe and the face are going to be pure black, and then the eyes will be a shiny. And the mask part will be a shiny. So the mask goes right here. Goes there. There. Now I haven't decided. I may add some white to Darth Vader just to give him some life. But let's be honest, he is kind of dead inside, so I don't know if he needs life. And his mask never really has shine to it, but I don't know. Maybe just to give it a little bit more detail. I hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesday. I know I don't normally stream Tuesdays. It's kind of weird. I decided in the long run that I wanted to get it done. Sorry. I wanted to get these Father's Day cards done because I do have the farmer's market on Thursday where I am selling to people, and I'm hoping here that I'll have enough sales that I can get more like paint and stuff like that. And then Saturday I also have my first watercolor workshop. So for those of you in Michigan, I am very excited. It is instructor only for this first one, but after the instructor only on June 13th, I will be doing a public one. So if you were wanting to get a watercolor workshop lesson with me, I know I basically do it here, but in this case we'll be doing very specific art pieces. And I'm always open to taking recommendations or requests for other specific art pieces. Then I would be happy if you joined me on June 13th, checked out the current beginner watercolor workshop, and then we can discuss other options you may or may not want. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to be playing lo-fi music like I do on Twitch. It will be a bit quieter in the background, but it'll be nice and calming and relaxing. And I think we're going to have a very good time. Maybe I'll take a picture with everyone who shows up to the class and be like, hey, check out this awesome class. Okay, Darth Vader is now good to dry. So we're going to the sign, I guess. I'm just going to call it the sign. That's what it's going to be now. So now we're going to do a little box right here. And then underneath, we're going to do a slightly lighter box with a different color. I'm going to ideally not have the two boxes touch as best as I can. And then we're going to go in with this turquoise. We're going to come down here. And this box is going to be, it's kind of like a recipe card is what this is getting at. The ingredients that make up a dad. And they're actually quite funny. And I can't see them anymore, so I may have to reference my purple sketchbook, which is downstairs. But it was something like 10% taxi driver, 40% grill master, 20% DIY fixer. I don't remember the other 10% or 20%, and I erased it. Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to reference my purple book, so I won't be able to finish this one. This one, I'm going to have to go in later today. Or Wednesday, tomorrow, when I remember my purple book. Which, if I keep that in mind, that I do have tomorrow to also work on these cards, that I will be doing good. Okay, so there's that. That's good, that's good. Let's do a little bit on the cow. We're going to add, oh, nope, that's still wet. Okay. We're going to dry the cow. One foot is like really, really wet, and I don't want to do any grass touching it. because then that grass will turn brown. Which isn't that big a deal. I guess having a cow, you do end up with patches of dirt everywhere, since they eat the grass. But I really don't want to play that game right now. Maybe I will play that game a little bit. Let's do some yellow-browns, wetting up our grass. Make sure the grass green. We're going to go with grass green here. It's almost all dry. There we go. Dry up everywhere else. Just looking pretty good. All right, so we're going to go in. I'm going to wet the ground here. This is just to create a wet-on-wet effect, which will make the ground feel a little bit more fluid and movie. Which apparently I have some black in this brush because it just came out. Yeah, I got black in the brush, not the water. It's fine. And we're going to come in with that yellow-brown, and we're just going to touch it here and there. And then we'll spread it out. And that'll just create kind of like the dirt patches that you get with cows. And we're going in with that grass green now. We're going to touch all the places we didn't touch with the cow, or with the brown. I may add in some light green areas, just to create a little bit of diversity here. Which I think I will. So we're going to grab some of that light green, just create a little bit of variation in the grass. Maybe some malachite green. And that gives that grass a little bit of variation. And then what I'm going to do is a trick I've seen many times is you take the back of the brush and you just kind of squiggle up the grass. And this gives it a little bit more realistic grass feel. And it looks pretty grassy too. You gotta be careful not to do the where the dirt is though. Wet this a little bit. There we go. There we are. Okay. And that gives it some grace. Now all we have to do is write Happy Father's Day up here, line the cow, sign it, and then do the wording on the inside, and that one will be done. I'm glad I kept these fairly simple. So we're going to set that one up there. And yes, I'm rushing through these as best I can. So now I'm going to take this brown again, and we're just going to make like a tree stump right here. That the axe is laying against. And that will give this a little bit of kind of like a background here. A little something extra. I think I'm going to take my bigger brush here. Because the less strokes you can do with paint or watercolor, the better. Because it feels a little bit more cohesive and less brush strokey. Now this one I may add some grass to. I probably won't, just because I want to have the Happy Father's Day off to the side. I am making this nice and wet with this brown, because I want to go in with a darker brown. So that darker brown is going to create a little bit of like a blurry shadow effect, and then we'll go in with a super dark. So now I'm going to blend this in, and we're going to go in with a super dark once it is dry to create a little bit more emphasis in this shadowy darkness of like where the ridges of the bark is. That will just create a beautiful tree texture. That one's not quite done yet, but it's getting close. This one is basically done except for the writing. I think I might do some splatter on this one. So I'm going to take this light blue, I'm just going to flick a little bit of it on here. Get it a little wet. A lot of when you flick does end up on your finger, unfortunately. The best way to flick is with a paintbrush or with a toothbrush. But I don't have a toothbrush small enough to get into these pans right now. Okay, clean my finger off so I don't get that all over the paintbrush, which I already have anyway. And then we're going to go in with a little bit of indigo. And then I'm going to add some of that splatter on there as well, to create a little bit more emphasis on it. There we go. So this one's basically done, aside from the lining, which I can line. Oh, wait, no, I got to do the silver. I can line it right now, but with the not remembering what the words were for the makeup of a dad, I don't want to do too much because I want to have those words be accurate. Like I said, it's like dad and then 10% taxi driver, something, 20% DIY fixer, and then 40% grill master, which I thought was really cute. So I don't want to screw up my own words. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to activate some Viridian here. I'm going to add some Viridian, which is like a shiny green around the edges here, just to add a little bit more oomph and maybe a little bit right here. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this right on the inside here. Just that way I can get that nice shiny green without it blurring. A lot of the dry that I need to do is just drips that happen from my brush while splattering. Which this one doesn't want to seem to go away, so I think I'm going to pull it up with my brush a little bit. There, that pulled up a lot of that water. Pull this one up with my brush. That one's now dry. Dry this one. Dry this one. Okay, there we go. Everything is nice and dry. So now we're going to go in with that Viridian. I'm going to take my flat brush, mix up that paint with the water, so that way it's not all water when I go to paint. Get that pigment in there. We're going to add that green right here. Add a little bit right here. Just a touch on the outside here. And I'm going to add it right along this edge. Right down this edge. That way it looks like a board kind of sticking up. And not so much a flat piece on this, whatever squiggly line it is. The award, I guess. Now we're doing pretty good on time. I'm at about 30 minutes on 4 pieces, and I'm getting almost done with most of them. And then I got the other 4 pieces, which do have a little bit more in depth to them. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that darker color of the raw sienna, which is the one we blended. And I am going to very carefully draw some squiggly lines. And you do want this to be kind of rough lineage. Now I could have, if I wanted to, use a stick for the lines, but I didn't want to, mostly because I didn't want to get my stick out. It would have been smarter to have done my stick. 100% smarter. There we go. Then we're going to do a slight dark line up here at the top, very, very thin, just to give that tree a little bit more oomph. We'll do a lineage. Very, very thin lineage. which is going to blend and blur because I got it a little too wet. Now I could do the grass again with this one, like I said, and have the grass just kind of set up behind, which I may do, because I do like how I did the grass over there. We'll see. We'll see. Now for Darth Vader's shine. Gotta reactivate some water in this black. The black is active. It just needed more water to pull up that pigment. And Darth Vader too will get lined even though he is all black, just because the mask has some lines through it. And I don't want to paint over that. So I'm going to use fine liner to paint those lines. Now my favorite part of doing these watercolor cards is you can't really scan and print them. I mean, you can, but they just don't hit the right way. They don't look the right way. They just kind of have weird problems that are just not what you're looking for. So when I go to make these cards, don't necessarily, like, I'll remake a card maybe, but it won't be the exact same every time I do it, which gives it a little bit more oomph, I guess. I'm going to do some silver on the helmet. Just kind of give it a little bit more of a shine here. And the silver is pretty see-through, so that should give it a little bit more darkness with it. But it's also dark enough silver that even if it were thick, you can't see it that well. The silver and the black almost look exactly the same. That's how dark the silver is. My black is a lot blacker. But this black will give it a little bit more definition from the black that is there. Okay. So Darth Vader, I think I'm going to do some sparkles around, not sparkles, but splatter around Darth Vader. I want some deep purple. I want some bright purple. I want some dark blue, Prussian blue. And I think dioxide violet. This will give that kind of galaxy feel behind him without having really a galaxy behind him. So we're going to start with this one, which is the deep purple. I could add some red as like a blood splatter, which would be much more fitting for Darth Vader. But I don't want to do that. This is kind of like an inverse galaxy where the stars are white and the sky has all that color. This one, the stars are going to have all the color and the sky is going to be white. I think I said that backward. I think I said the sky was white the first time. The stars are white normally. Which I have found a really cool way to do a night galaxy sky, which I will have to show you guys sometime. But it's a bunch of layers that you do. Like a lot of layers. Then we're going to go in with a light blue. Let's go with turquoise. Just a little bit of a different color here. There, that gives it a little bit more something going on with it. Anyway, I figured out a really cool way to do a night sky with watercolor. The problem is that I have to do a lot of layers with it, which means it's going to take a while to fully do the sky. I really want to show you guys how to do it, but it will require a lot of heat gun, and a lot of it. Which I should not have picked a white heat gun because I'm already splattering all over it. This heat gun is going to be so colorful. I just hope that doesn't ruin the mechanics on the inside. Alright, so now Darth Vader can go up there to dry, and then we'll line him. And now we'll go in with this grass, so I'm going to go ahead and wet the ground down here. Now we're not going to go all the way down. We're going to have that little bit of gap, white gap at the bottom. This will just give it a little bit more of a, like, almost like suggestive color to it. We're going to go in with that grass green. We want a lot of color on this. Then we're going to go in with that malachite green. We're going to drop it in different areas. Mainly the areas where the yellow-green is not going to make sense. Then we're going to go in with that yellow-green. We're just going to top it off at the top where it's nice and highlighted, maybe a little bit in the middle. And then once again, we're going with the back of the brush. And we're just dragging that up. We're just kind of creating some nice grassy feeling and look. And with the wetter it is, the better it flows. So that's why I added the water before putting in that green. There we go. Now I'm tempted to put a little bit of white on the axe. I think I'm going to. We'll do the blue-gray, actually. We're going to activate the blue-gray and put a little bit of that on the axe. I don't know if it's going to be lighter or darker. But the blue-gray will also go on Darth Vader to give his eyes a little bit of a highlight. That way it still has that highlight without going full white. And I may do the lines with the blue-gray as well, actually. So we're getting pretty close. I'm kind of rushing through these cards. I get it. I just want to get these done and ready to go, but not completely ruin how I do them and make them feel a little too cheesy, if you will. So let me see right here. Yeah, that blue-gray is a lot lighter. So we're going to use the blue-gray as the highlight for the axe. What? Oh, I guess Siri decided to respond to me even though I didn't say Siri. It's telling me I don't have any smart home things synced up, which I don't with Siri because I don't use Siri. That is if it's even still called Siri. I don't even know anymore. I know Amazon's Cortana. Google is just Google. Or Gemini, whichever one you want to say at the time. Outline this mask part. And that should help with those lines, really pull them out. Do a little bit of highlight up here with the blue-gray. So it has that secondary highlight. There we go. That looks good. The eyes aren't great. I'm not happy with the eyes. Maybe I will do a white for the eyes. We'll just do a little bit of a white. Just going to drop it in, kind of let it flow and do its own thing. Now we're going to give that time to dry, and we're going to fine line the cow. I can't fully fine line the dad one. I don't want to fine line the axe, but I will write the Happy Father's Day on the axe. The dad one, this one, I can write the inside, which is the ingredients of the best father that you are. Where'd I put my fine liners? I know I got them out. They're right here. Okay. So half my fine liners disappeared because they dried out on me, and I didn't feel like keeping dried out fine liners, so I kept grabbing them. So I just, I threw them away. That's what I decided to do. I threw them away. Now for this cow, we got to carefully remember how our lines went. I did do the partial erase in the beginning because I wanted to have the cow lighter in case I screwed up the lines and had to go outside the cow, which I did end up doing anyway, so I'm glad I did it. I'm not going to fine line the spots. I'm just fine lining the outside of the cow and the udder. Guess I can outline the hooves here. Then we're going to come down on the tail, back up, come around. There we go. So that's the fine line portion, and then I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to write the Happy Father's Day and my signature. The cow got a little bit of the Darth Vader splatter, but it's fine. The brush I like doing for writing because it's a little bit more fluid and feels a little more natural. I guess it's not perfect. I kind of like the fine line pen a little better right now. It's been a while since I used the brush. The brush tip's just feeling really light and loose. I think I'm going to actually not use the brush pen and just use a thicker 1.0 pen. That brush pen is not great. So the cow's saying is you move my life to greatness. Okay, so that's the end of that cow. It does need to dry a little bit, but the liner pens usually dry really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over now and do my little stampy stamp. So every one of my cards get a stamp with my business and a QR code and a website link. So that baby's done. I guess I'll put it down here. That's fine. Okay, I will do the inside of this one and the lining of, or the name. Even though I don't have the wording on it, which is fine. I know Dad went here. And I'm going to put Happy Father's Day. And then I'm going to write the inside. So part of why I didn't bring my purple book is I thought I would be able to see the words underneath the paint because the watercolor is so translucent, but I made the paint a little too thick. So there's different levels of paint, watercolor paint. There's tea, which is essentially just staining the color or on. There's milk, which is a little bit thicker, and then there's, I think it's called butter, I want to say. And that's where it's like really thick, almost like painting with acrylic. And it's all based on how much pigment is in the watercolor versus how much water, I should say. It's not just how much pigment, but because you could get a small pigmented watercolor, pull it out of the tube, and it will still not give you tea. It's how much water versus pigment you put in the watercolor. Okay, and then we'll stamp this one. Got a little bit of ink over here, but it's fine. Just gonna kind of shade this up here. Why not? I don't know why. The ink just got everywhere, and it's, yeah. So that one will set over here because it is a little wet still. This over here. So I have a little bit more space. Then Darth Vader is looking good. I think I am going to go ahead and fine line him. Just because even though he is fully done, he is not very easy to see. And I know even with the blackest black on my palette, it can still give a little bit extra when you line it. And lining definitely takes a little bit to learn how to do, just because of the fact that it does take a certain angle of the fine liner to actually produce, and a certain amount of paint on the painting, so that way it doesn't get too thick. Now, I do see Darth Vader is still drying, so I'm not going to take him and do the inside quite yet. But I could dry him. Let me actually do that. Let me dry him. That way I can do the inside without having to worry about paint getting everywhere. There we go. Right. I gotta sign this, and I did sign the other one. Okay. So for my fine liner pens, I need to find ones without the brush tip, which I don't think exist. I don't think I'm going to use that brush tip very often. I don't want to end up with like 20 brush tip pens. That would be insane, just because I use up my other pens and then I just don't use the brush tip. There are some things I can get away with doing with it. Such as, such as, oh my god, my brain just shut off completely. I can't think of such as, such as like doing a tree. Like I could use the brush liner to do a tree, like a spooky tree. But you're not going to find me very commonly making a lot of spooky trees. Unless it's in like my sketchbook. I don't know. Maybe there's one day I will like a spooky tree that I did in my sketchbook with the brush pen. And I will do it as like an official piece. But I like doing trees with the branch more. Because it feels a little bit more wonky. It feels a little bit more natural. Oh, that has splatter all over inside. Okay, whoops. That's fine. And this one's pun, or the pun for Darth Vader was "Dad, I am your spawn." And then this one is, I've been meaning to ask you a question. How did you do so great at being a dad? So part of why I'm putting puns in these is because of the fact that whenever I go shopping personally for a card, I always want something funny or like some sort of pun in it. And that's what I look for in cards. But I know not everyone looks for that. So I like doing puns because that's what I look for. I have had some people laugh and enjoy my cards because of the puns in them. I have had some sales because of the puns. So that's part of why I'm selling them with puns in them. Okay, that's four cards as far as I can get them right now. Again, the dad ingredient one, I need to look up what the ingredients were because I forgot. Oh, my ear itches. Why's my ear got an itch? Yeah, I have splatter from Darth Vader all over my table. That was a mistake. I did not mean to get Darth Vader everywhere. Whoopsie. It's fine. Everything's fine. Alright, so the next four cards are going to take a little bit more time. I got an ATM machine. Dad jokes is going to take the longest. A tape measure and a controller. So with the tape measure and the controller, I want to do that kind of splattering background effect with them. So with the controller, I'm actually going to use this brown. Well, no, the tape measure, I'm going to use the brown. And I'm just going to add a lot of water to lighten it up. And then, I probably shouldn't wet that one yet. For the game controller, I'm going to do the red. So for this one, I'm just going to take up that pigment. Just kind of move it around. And then I'm going to carefully drop it onto this tape measure. Hopefully not spill it. That tape paint off the edge there. And for the splatter technique that I've been really enjoying doing, I just take my fingers and just kind of splatter it around. I'm trying to keep the other cards further away, so that way they don't get in the way. And then because I have to hold this down for the splatter not to get everywhere, I do have to use the heat gun to dry it. However, I also have to take some of this color out, like down here at the bottom. I need to take out some of that water. So I'm going to take my towel, and I'm just going to dip it in here, kind of soak it up with some capillary action. You know, now we got some science going in. We're just going to soak that up a little bit. You don't want to soak up too much, because then it'll be like a really light edge and almost look like a cloud. And then we want to turn on our heat gun and dry this off. So we can wait for it to dry, or we can make it dry, for those of you that enjoy that watercolor artist. I love her. Now this may take a while to get it to dry because of the fact that it is a lot of water just kind of spread out in a lot of areas. It shouldn't be too bad. Mostly I just have to get it to a satiny feel at least, so that way it doesn't like spread around when I open up when I let go of the card and it goes everywhere. So the biggest key is just getting some of this water out so it's not gonna move. And then we're going over here. Back over here. Here. We're just slowly moving around, trying to get all this water. And this is where these cards are going to take a little bit more time. We gotta do it from the top down. There's a lot of water in this one, so I am going to take my towel and kind of soak up some of this water again. A lot of this is already pretty dry just from this heat gun. But I do see some areas where it's still relatively pretty wet. Like I said, I'm just trying to get it to that satin finish, but it looks like I might have to get it all the way to the finish. While I'm doing this, I'm going to make sure that silver has a little bit more water. I don't want too much. I'm going to get some oranges, some yellow. I think I'm going to do a fluorescent yellow on this one for the tape measure. The orange on the side, the black in the middle. I did add a little face to it, which I think is cute, so I'm going to get some of that candy pink in there. I do want the grays to be wet because of the controller. I think I have greens. I'm just gonna spray everything. Screw it. Okay, I think that's nice and dry. Now I can go ahead and go in this with some colors in certain areas. So right now I don't want the colors touching, so I can get the orange on the body and the fluorescent yellow on the tape measure itself. So I'm just going to go in with that orange, and I know it's going to be slightly turned brown because of that background. Again, watercolor is transparent, so it's going to be affected by what's behind it. This is called layering. If you don't want it to be affected, then you have to layer it more, or you have to make it thicker, or you have to do both. I don't mind it having that touch of brown because that gives it a little bit more of a orangey feel versus that light orange that I normally get when I dip into that one. Now we're going in with this fluorescent yellow, which my fluorescent yellow has always been a pain to try and get pigment out of. I don't know why. Got hair in it, which is not helping. But yeah, I have to really rub at this fluorescent yellow to get a nice pigmentation from it. We want a nice thin line. And let's see, is that going to move? No, it doesn't. Okay. So now we can let that dry. And now we want to do the same with the controller. Only this time the controller is going to have a red background. So we're just going to add some water in there. Take this, we're going to swish it around to get that pigmentation up. And then we're going to carefully, I may have to push it over a little bit, get this red on here. I got to be careful because I don't want to get that brown on there. So I'm just carefully kind of pushing it over as I splatter my heat gun again. There we go, that's all the red I have. Some of it got on my table, which is, I guess, fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Oops. Clean my brush, clean the heat gun real quick. Clean off my table real quick before it stains. And this one doesn't have as much red on it to kind of push around, but that's okay. As you saw from our brown, we didn't need that much. We're just kind of spreading this around. There we go. That looks good. And now we're going to heat gun this one as well. Just because, again, we don't want that when we let go of the card for it to kind of move around on us. And the more heat we get on this, the more likely it is to be able to be painted next. We do need some gold, so I need to spray the gold for this one. Gold and silver are going to be the main two. I want this gold for it. Oh, and copper. Copper, gold, and silver are going to be the ones that I use for the dad jar. Oh, come on. Open! Thank you. Then did I spray the copper? I have not sprayed the copper. Oh, maybe I did. I'm going to spray it anyway, just to be safe. And then for the ATM, I'm going to do the blue screen. And I'm going to do the silver numpad with, I'll do blue boxes and silver circles with fine liner. So a lot of this is kind of planning ahead when you do things in a specific color order or specific designs. Watercolor honestly is not meant to be really planned ahead because you can't control how the water goes. So you can't really control how it's going to look in the end. There are certain things you can do to influence it, but you can't fully control it. And that's what I kind of like about watercolors. The transparency, like as you can see, you've got that brown background showing through on this one, which is already dry enough that I might be able to do this next layer. Kind of helps that it's taking a while to dry this one. And the plus side, this little line here where you can see the edge of the measuring tape is the same color as what I'd make the controller, so I can just make a big batch of that color. Okay, that should be good enough for now. Now, for the measuring tape, I'm basically going to use this color. So I'm going to wet it down, get a little bit more in there. Because I also want to have enough for the controller. And then we're going to go in and we're going to take some of this gray and the black and mix it in so that way it's a little bit thicker and not too watered down. So that needs a little bit more black. Not as dark as I would like. I'm also going to grab some of this burnt umber just to give it a little bit of a more subtle undertone. Now, I understand a lot of gaming controllers, especially from Xbox nowadays, are white. But you know what? We're going with a good classic black. There, that should be a good color. We can actually swatch this. So I'm going to grab a swatch sheet here, which that one looks like it's dead. So I'm going to grab a different swatch sheet. And we can swatch it here. And that looks like a nice dark color for the piece we're doing. And if we lighten it up a little bit, like we swish it side to side without so much water, we get a nice kind of brown undertone on it. So I'm going to go ahead and swap over to my smaller brush because I don't want to mess up anything. We're just going to take a thin line right here, bring it down to where that fluorescent yellow is coming out. Kind of drop in some of the dark color on here. We're going to put it down here as well. And we're just going to let that dry. On the measuring tape on the end, I am going to take some of that lovely silver that we wet. That still feels like acrylic. It's so smooth and light and creamy right now. I am a little concerned that it's creamy. And we're just going to take some silver right there at the end to kind of activate that. For the other part, I was going to use candy pink for the mouth, but I realized we don't have a lot of iridescent, so I'm actually going to take the iridescent pink. And we're going to put that on the mouth. And then that is basically done, except for fine linering. So, yay! Dad Jokes is going to be the one I work on next, and then I'll work on the ATM. So next, I'm still working on the controller, though. So next for the controller, I'm going to come in, and I can see my lines pretty good. If I don't put too much of this on here, and avoid like the joysticks, I should be able to see what I need to do for the other. Now with controllers, you can get them custom made in different colors, and I think I might do this one custom. I might just do a gray for all of the joysticks and the D-pad, but at the same time I kind of want to have fun with colors with this. But I don't know what colors would be normal. I could do like a green, like the Xbox green, or like the PlayStation blue. And I want to be careful not to make this a specific controller to like Xbox or PlayStation. So I might do a mixture of both, especially with the buttons, because the button colors change every time. So I'm going to do one color for all the buttons. That way it can be a more generic controller. Partially because I don't know what the controller buttons look like. I am used to Xbox, and even those ones, I can't remember what the color scheme is, and I don't want to have to look it up. So I'm just being very careful not to paint in the buttons. And I know the start and stop thing is a little bit closer to the Xbox, but I also have the trackpad that you'd see on the PlayStation, so this is very much a hybrid controller between the two. Now, using a smaller brush is making it hard to layer this correctly because it's drying as I'm painting, so it's causing multiple layers. So I am having to go in with a second layer over top to try and like darken the layer so it doesn't look like it's actually layering. Because as you can see, this side of the controller is already fully dry. Now I do have a lot of this dark gray left, which is kind of good. Because then I can take this color and I can do the D-pad and stuff. Which again, I'm leaning toward actually going in and having fun colors in that. Now we're going to go over here with Dad Jokes. And this is where I needed the gold, the copper, and the silver. So we're going to start with copper, because you don't get many copper coins anymore. And those are worth a lot. And we're just going to paint some circles. We're just going to paint randomly. Don't touch the colors together. You know, that type of stuff. And we're just going to paint the coins. Now the coins are going to be the shine in this. I am not going to make the bills shiny, even though that would be fun. That was a little too wet. That's okay. Now again, I'm just painting the coins randomly. There's no rhyme or reason. I want to get the copper, I want to get the gold, and I want to get the silver in here. I don't want too much of any of them. Do one right here. I feel like that's pretty even. With about a third of it, I want to say. I'm going to do another one right here. I'll do one more right here. I think that's about a third. That should be good for being a third. Pull up some of this color here. Oh, my brush was still wet, so it actually added more water to it. Just pulling up some of this water on this one so that way I can get it to dry a little faster. Same with this one. Some of these got a little too wet, which is okay. Now I think I might be able to go in with some of the gold and then finish up with the silver. But the silver is going to have to wait a hot minute for it to dry. Did that over there. Now we're going in with that gold. It is a very, very pretty gold in my opinion. Oh, that is way too wet. Hang on. Need a little bit here and a little bit there. There we go. Do some gold here. Some gold here. Now, I am kind of playing the risky game here, and I'm going to let it happen, where I am slightly touching the copper a little bit, which may bleed into the gold, but the copper looks like it's dry enough that it may not bleed. I'm hoping that's the case. Oh, that is way too much water again. I am good at doing way too much water. Doesn't help that I put too much water in the pan. Trying to get just the pigmentation, and I'm getting a lot of water. So I definitely have to wait for the gold to dry before doing the silver. Now this one probably would have been good for me to do a light erase on, because then I could have got the coins a little bit more detailed here. Just done dots instead of filling in a circle. Now again, I'm trying to go for those thirds. I want to have enough that the silver is very obvious, but I'm also recognizing most coins are silver. So if I have more silver than gold and copper, that's not that big a deal. Now I am 100% tempted to just go in straight with the silver and then not worry about the bleeding as well. I don't know if I want to do that. The gold is drying fairly quickly, but at the same time, it's a lot. It has more water to it than the silver, than the copper did, so it's going to take a little bit longer for it to dry. So I'm going to wait for that to dry. Okay, and then the ATM, we were doing the blue screen, the blue boxes, and the silver buttons. So I'm going to start with the silver. We're just going to come down here and cover this in silver. Now the ATM machine itself will be gray. I mean, we'll make a nice light gray with the normal paint instead of the iridescent. But I want all the buttons and stuff to be iridescent. I might even do the ATM at the top in iridescent, like an iridescent blue as well. Ooh, no, iridescent red. Yeah, we're going to go iridescent red for the ATM portion. Like I said, these are going to take a little bit longer than the first four, just because there is more detail to them. Now that silver was pretty thick, so it should dry relatively quickly. For the screen, I'm going to go with a normal metallic blue instead of a light blue or like a cerulean blue. We're just going to paint over the screen. I don't think I wet the red, though. No, I didn't. So I'm going to wet the red real quick for the ATM portion, and I'm going to make sure the grays are nice and wet. That way I can make that light gray. Now the light gray I'm not stressing right this moment because the metallics will have to dry. And then I am also going to do the lines where the eraser comes out and where, or the the receipt, eraser, where the fuck did I get eraser from? Where the receipt comes out, I'm going to do those in metallic black. And then, of course, we will... Well, you know what? I'm going to fine line them, actually. I'm going to fine line those lines. I don't want to add too much detail into this in paint. There. One of those actually should be green. I just realized I'm going to make it green. Well, Viridian, I guess, because that's the accept button. Alright, it's a little bit more blue than green because the blue is on the background and we got the transparency going on like normal. Right, back to the controller while that one dries. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to lighten this up. So I'm going to take some of this over here and then take some water. Just kind of lighten up this black for the inner buttons here. I may have done a touch too much water, so we're going to add a little bit more pigmentation in that. This will show that red behind it a lot more, but that's okay. And then I am going to take some of this lavender, and I'm going to add it into this purple, or this blackish color. We're going to take some more of that black color, and we're just going to mix it in until we get a nice kind of deep lavender. And that is going to be our buttons and the joystick. I think I need a little bit more lavender. There we go. That's a little better. Again, we're keeping this generic. We're not doing any specific theme, partially because you can customize your controllers on many consoles. So you can have this style controller on your console. And we will be going in with the fine liner to bring those detail backs, like the trackpad and the joysticks. Okay, we're going to take this. No, I'll wait on that one. I am going to have to do another layer of the dark color in between. And then I'll have to do like a black on these edges. Just to give it a little bit of just to give it a little bit of like a grip that it should have. So we're gonna give that one a minute to dry. I'm gonna take some coffee and drink some coffee. Because you know my butt's addicted to coffee. We're gonna let that one dry a minute. And now we're going in with that silver on the Dad Jokes one. And every coin that is currently unpainted is going to be painted. And the silver is kind of thick, like I said, with acrylic. It's nice and creamy. So I shouldn't need too much drying on this one. Dry time. Which means we can probably go after the bills immediately when I'm done with the silver. I personally like how I'm getting a nice color difference between the gold, the copper, and the silver in the coins. It's creating a much nicer variation in it. Now, because the silver is so creamy, I'm not having to dip as much because there's just so much of it. I don't know what that beep was. I don't know if you guys heard that beep. I just heard a weird beep in my headset. I may add a few coins like over here. Just kind of looking and seeing how the colors are spreading, how even they are. I'm going to dip a little bit in the water just so I can... Oh, I need some more of that cream. That went a little too light there. Okay, let's back up and take a look. That actually is a pretty nice spread. I think I'm going to add a coin here. And I think that's a really nice spread of coinage to bills. Yeah, I think I like that. Now I should have kept that light gray that I had for the jar. I am going to mix up a very light blue and do that way. But this dad jokes right here in the middle, I do want to do a flesh color. So I'm just going to go ahead and dip my brush a couple times in the water and just do a nice light flesh color. That way it looks kind of like masking tape. Now, masking tape does have a hint of yellow to it, so I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and mix it with this flesh just to give it a little bit more of that masking feel. So I'm going to take just a smidgen, wash my brush, dip in the clean water, and we're just going to spread it around and get that nice masking tape feel. Okay, so that's good. Now, again, I'm going to make a nice light blue. So while we can, I'm going to do this top layer. I'm not going to take the light blue all the way down the jar because then I'd have to do light blue between each of the coins or paint over the coins. I'm just going to take it down to like here and just kind of have it. No, I'm actually going to wet it. That might help with the light blue. Just going to wet it. And we're just going to take it down a little bit to where it gradiates enough that it looks like it's going to that white. And then when everything else dries, we will take some blue on the outside. It'll be a light blue, a thicker light blue, and we'll just kind of line the jar. I'm going to take a little bit of this lake blue because I think that feels a little bit more jarry. We're just going to drop a little bit of it in here. Then we're going to spread it around. So we want it nice and light. And like I said, we're going to take it down this way just to give that impression that the jar is going blue without it actually going blue all the way down. And that should be good for our impression here. So we push that blue around just to try and get those lighter areas. Kind of pull up from down here. Another technique I really want to try with watercolor is salt. I don't know why, but salt's supposed to create a really cool kind of effect. And I really, really, really want to try it. I've been so scared to try it, though. Okay, now that we did that, we're back on the ATM. We're going to do... Oh, I'm going to do silver here on these two little posts here. And we're going to do the same technique that we did with the jar where we wet it and then put the gray in. That way we can get the nice light gray. But with this one, we're going to do a slightly bigger brush. So that way we can control it a little bit better. And apparently I have a lot of black in this brush. Maybe coming from my clean water, honestly. But I mean, that black does give me the light gray a little bit. So we're just going to wet this entire bottom area, and then we'll wet the top one. But I'm going to do the entire bottom area first before doing the top because I want it to be nice and wet while I'm spreading. That way nothing gets too thick and then too connected here. There, okay. We're going to take that light gray. We're just going to drop it in a few places. That may have been too much, but it's fine. Clean our brush and then just spread it around. Again, this creates a nice light gray without having to mix one on our palette. That's another nice thing about watercolor is because your paper is wet, you can mix the colors on your paper without having to mix them on a palette first. So you can get the color you like without having to mess up or get messy anything else. My palette's getting kind of dirty. That's part of why I'm doing it on the paper. Oop, that blue is starting to activate again, so we don't want to mix it too much. We're coming up here and we're going to do the same thing with a little bit less gray because there's a lot less area. Now, the pencil graphite, part of why you erase it is the graphite does mix with the water a touch, which does make it kind of gray just based on that. There we go. Nice and gray. Now for this one, for the background, I might do a little bit of like a kind of like a bloom out, but I haven't decided yet. I think dad jokes I'm going to leave without a background. All right, controller is starting to look dry enough that we can work on that one again. So we're going to go back with our lighter brush. I'm going to take that dark purple and I'm going to layer a little bit more here in that pad. A little bit on that dot. Take that dot and this one. I want that purple to stand out just a touch. And I don't want to do the black of the grips yet because I want to make the... Well, actually, I can use this one. And I haven't done any iridescent, so let's do an iridescent black on it. Now, I do want to make this a bit blacker than the iridescent gets, so I'm going to take some of my normal black. I'm going to mix it in. Get a nice deep black here. Now, I do have iridescent medium, so I can take that black and just add some iridescent to it as is. But I want to use the iridescent black as much as possible. So that's not super shiny, so I do want to add more. A little bit of water to that black and just swirl and swirl and swirl. There we go. That's a little better. Now, I could do some iridescent purple on the buttons, which I might do. We will see. That iridescent black is a nice deep black now in comparison to that dark brown that we have on the controller. Which, had I done the iridescent black with just the iridescent black, it would have been almost like a gray, and it wouldn't have stand out from the controller itself. Also going to do the iridescent buttons up here, because all the controllers have that button up top. And maybe I'll add a cord. I'm going to go old-fashioned. We're going to add a cord to it. Just kind of coming off the page. Yeah, that looks good. And that gives some shine into it. I think I am going to add a touch of the violet here to the buttons and the trackpad. Now, this controller is not super great. I'm not going to lie. I'm definitely going to have to do a lot of fine line detailing here. But it's okay. It's not fabulous, but it exists. It exists. That is all we need to know. There we go. So once that dries, I'm going to go in with that dark again, just to kind of outline everything. And then once that's dry from there, we'll do the liner on that. Going to move over to dad jokes here. And we need to get our greens for the money. Now I'm going to do fruit green, yellow green, and malachite green. So the malachite green is going to be where all the tips are folded over. And the fruit green is going to be the main body, and then the yellow green is going to be the circle. So I'm going to start with the circle and the tips that are folded over. We're going to try and hopefully get these as nicely painted and dried as quickly as possible as we can. That. I'm also going to use the malachite green as the shadowing in this bundle roll of cash. There's not a lot of fold over tips, so there shouldn't be too much of an issue there. There's only like 2 of them, I think. Malachite green, we're going to drop that off a little bit. That one's wet. Alright, I think that's it for that one. I'm going to do some shadowing here. I'm just going to kind of drop it in. If I remember correctly, the opposite of green is red. So I'm actually going to take, and this is going to sound really weird, guys. Trust me, I get it. It sounds weird. Take a touch of red, and I'm just going to drop it in there. And we're just going to kind of blend that in with that green, which is going to give us that nice shadowy color. Take a touch more of that green, drop it in. There we go. Now we have a nice kind of natural shadow effect going on. Now that is really wet, so I'm going to take the heat gun, because I want to get this dad jokes done fairly quickly. Oh, it's like hitting my finger. I would do this on the controller, but I kind of want it to dry naturally. I just really want to get this dad jokes done because I think it's the funniest one I have. Slowly but surely drying this off. And I'm hoping the person that did the custom order request for me, which was like 2 dogs, Brindle Mastiff and the Greyhound that we did on Monday, I'm hoping that their shop will still be open or no, we did it Friday. Anyway, when we did it last, which actually was Friday, I'm hoping their shop will still be open when I am done today after my meeting, because I want to get it dropped off. They did say no rush, but you know what? This is me. I'm always going to rush. All right, so we're going with that fruit green for the main point of the color of the money. All right, we're just bringing that in. Get a nice green money color. Being careful not to paint over the dad joke sign. We have our shine from all the coins, so I don't need to worry about adding any shine to this. Oh, I just went and dipped in the wrong one. My bad. Guess this green will be a little bit more yellow on this particular bill. Get this a little wetter so that way it can blend a little bit. I don't want too many strokey lines here. And I will have to go in with that fine liner again to get all those like dollar signs and stuff on here. There, and then that gives that shadow a nice green tint. It fills up all the places where the shadow did not touch. Okay. This is looking good so far. I'm really quite proud of myself. I know it's kind of a quiet day today, but I hope you guys are having fun with streaming with me and painting with me anyway. I am trying my hardest to do these fun paint streams as best I can. I hope you guys are enjoying them. I know they're not my usual gaming streams, but I am trying to bring some of those back, especially the Spooky Sunday. I don't know if I can do it every week like I used to, but, you know, every other week at least. There's hair in my paint. I don't know if it's like brush hair or what type of hair it is, but every time I paint, I end up with tiny, tiny pieces of hair, which I think is bristles, all over my paint. think I need to add some water to kind of clear up these brush strokes. Look, another hair. Okay. Let's add some water to this fruit green so that way I'm not getting brush strokes. Getting that all the way across. Now again, with any painting, the least amount of strokes you have to do, the better. But also, I am not good at doing that. Okay, so the bills are now painted. The jar is essentially painted. Now, all I have to do, and I think I can do it without touching the green, is add in that deep blue lining. And now, it's not going to be a super dark blue. But it is going to be, like, here and there. Enough to kind of emphasize where everything is. Now I'm going to dip in that water just a little bit to lighten it. Dip a little bit more. And this is just lightening in between. Give it a little bit more of a blue kind of connection here. Because as you guys know, jars aren't always lined like this. Or if they are, they have a little bit of things going on. So the dad jokes one looks like it's good enough to be lined, like outlined with the dad jokes with the fine liner. And then the bills should almost be ready. They'll take a few minutes to dry. Looks like my controller is ready for its second layer of the main color. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we're going to just layer on this dark kind of purpley brown thingamaboob color. I don't even know what color to call this. With painting, you'd be amazed how often people just make up their own colors. They just mix together whatever looks good. This can create a lot of variation in painting, like especially with this controller one. Even if I were to try and do this controller again, it may trace similar. Like if I were to trace it, it would be the exact same one. However, I could never recreate this exact color again without having it on my palette. And even then, to activate it, I would need water. And I wouldn't be able to get the exact water ratio. So the color wouldn't always be 100% the same. Which is what makes watercolor and painting so fun and unique, is even if the artist were to try to do the exact same thing again, they're not a printer. They're not a machine. It's not going to be exactly the same every single time. Okay. Looks like I can use a little bit more purple sparkle on the joysticks and the buttons. So I will let this dry and then we will do that layer again. I'll make sure that that is nice and wet while we're waiting for that to dry. And the reason I'm not jumping into using my heat gun to dry it is because I do want to do the ATM on this one. So with this one, we're going to take our nice red, which is technically like an orange red, but it looks better than the metallic wine red. And we're just going to, kind of in a glowy effect, make the ATM really stand out. Now I am tempted to take a white pen, a white gel pen, and make a little line on the inside of the ATM to create a neon color effect, which would actually look really cool, which is why I'm tempted. Part of why I want to do the ATM watercolor or neon light is because it's got that iridescent glow. So that alone is going to make it seem kind of glowy. And then having the white on the inside will just really make it stand out. A little bit more in that yellow or orange red. Okay. Now for the background of the ATM, I am going to go ahead and do a little bit of something. I'm kind of leaning Naples yellow. So let me go ahead and activate my Naples yellow with a bunch of water. I don't know if it's already active or not. It looks like it was, so I'm just going to kind of mix it together. And we're just going to do a little bit of a kind of messy background here. We're just going to kind of spread it out with some water. Kind of blend it out. A little bit more Naples yellow right about here. Some right here. Take this all the way out. Bring this all the way down. We're going to blend in here. Blend over here. Okay, we're going to do a touch of right there. Blend that out. And that creates a nice, lovely kind of gradation on the outside, just to give it a little bit extra. And to make it even fancier, I could make little bricks. So I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I'm going to add little bricks to it. The dad jokes, like I said, I don't want to add any background to it because I really want the focus to be on the jar. So we're going to leave that as is. The measuring tape should be dry enough that we can do the lining and stuff. So let's go ahead and start getting lining going. Actually, this is dry enough that I can do the purple. So we're going to go back in with that purple. We're just going to kind of layer this on in all the areas where that purple needed to shine. Just to give it that nice iridescent feel. There we go. That is pretty. I like that. Now the paper is warping a touch. That happens. Okay, now we'll swap over to the measuring tape and do the fine liner parts. So this is the thick one. This is the thin one. So we're just gonna, remember, keep it straight up and down, which is the hardest part of this. It really is. You're so used to tilting like a pencil or a pen that it can be hard to remember to keep it straight up and down. At least I am. And then I also want to get out my white gel pens to add some life to the eyes. Now, it's getting pretty close to done, and I'm very excited. It took us an hour and 45 minutes, and that took me pretty close to my appointment. So I'm just glad we got all 8 of these done. I do have 4 more in my idea phase and not in the drawn phase. So maybe we'll work on those tomorrow, or maybe we'll work on something for me. Maybe I'll get to bring some salt up, and we're going to work with some salt. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to try rock salt and normal salt. Normally when I see it, it's rock salt. So that will be interesting to kind of try those out. This one is not fully done. I need it downstairs. And then these ones are fully done. So I'm just kind of separating out what's done and what's not. And that one I'm going to leave up there. So I'm going to do the Happy Father's Day and then the dad jokes. Oh, I didn't do the measuring tape. Hang on. I forgot to do the inside of the measuring tape. We're going to set that over there for a second. So the measuring tape one's pun is I can never measure up to you. And then that one is all lined. Yep. Oh, I forgot to stamp it. That's important, stamping. How else will they know who made it? Okay. Now that one's done. Back to this. If I hadn't stopped this one to go do that, I would have 100% forgotten to do it. So I really hope that people enjoy, if I had $1 for every one of your dad jokes, ... is this one. Anyway, if I hadn't stopped to do that, I would have totally forgot to do it. I have a scatterbrain, in case you guys haven't noticed. I can literally go from saying one thing to reading something, and then I instantly forget what I was saying. Totally didn't just do that. There, okay. And then we'll stamp this one. We go a stamp. Stamp is actually working pretty nicely right now, so, you know, I'll take it. That's my 0.3. Now we gotta line all the bills and the dad jokes. I am not lining the coins. I want them to just kind of exist as they are, as shiny little coins. But bills do have that darker color on them, especially where it says how much money it is. Okay. Ooh, I hear some ambulances or fire trucks or something. I've been hearing those a lot lately. Kind of concerning, honestly. Oh, come on, stop going off the edge. So one thing that irritates me at the farmer's market is there's a woman who is selling cards that are basically like collage cards. And while I have no problem with you selling cards, they sell so close to me and they price them $1 cheaper than mine. And it's like, come on, seriously? Like, I'm trying to sell these cards and you are undercutting me by quite a bit. And I don't appreciate it. I am really tempted to outline the jar now. Because everything looks so dark. No, don't do it. Don't do it. I forgot something on the measuring tape. I was going to white gel pen the eyes. We're going to do a 0.8 gel pen. Just to give it a little bit of a life. And I think that's good there. I am going to do a little bit of white on the dad jokes. Just a little bit like up here. Just to suggest the glass. That should be good. Take it down here. And it is slightly transparent with the gel, so you can still see the coin, so that's fine. I'm gonna wipe off that other. I'm gonna leave that white pen out because I'm gonna do the ATM as well. There's that one. That one looks nice and dry, so we're gonna start with this one. And then we're going to go to the thinner one, and we're going to do some circles here. Uh-oh. Paint's too thick. This is where I was talking about, like, you got to be careful with your paint and lining. Because my paint is so thick, it's not lining very good. There we go. That's the best I can do with lining it. Oh well. It's not the end of the world. Oh, did I sign? Yeah, I did sign that one. Did I sign the one before it? Yes, I did. Okay. I just realized I'm forgetting to sign. I stamped that one. Did I stamp this one? I did stamp that one. Okay. Trying to make sure I get all my stamps and signatures on there. That way people know who made it. And they can, you know, refer back to if they need to commission more or if they need another card, that type of stuff. This one says +5 compassion. You level up. Well, level, not level. I'm going to add a heart to this one because, you know, why not? And I like putting my sayings at the top of the card. I know most cards put it in the middle of the card, but I want that to be big enough space for someone to add their own custom like saying or like note right through here instead of having like that tiny little space and having the tiniest little writing. This way they have a lot of space and a lot of writing and they can sign it wherever they'd like. All right, now for the ATM. I'm going to start with the white. What just fell on me? I don't know. Felt like a bug and it scared me. So we're going to do some white in the middle of this ATM. And this will give that kind of neon feel. There. And then we're going to do a little box on the screen with some words. Another box. Some words on either side of it. Now, it's been hard to find a good gel pen that works on watercolor. I finally found ones from Hinui. They work pretty good. The key to, again, to doing any sort of pen work is to do some dots down here for the buttons. The key for doing any kind of pen work on watercolor, I've noticed, is to keep it up and down. Like straight up and down. That way it doesn't like fizz out or stop flowing, if you will. That second box is not looking great, so I'm actually going to take my acrylic that I have in here. I'm going to do the small acrylic one that I have, which is a painting on rock one, apparently. It's a liquid ink. I'm going to shake it, 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 shake it. And then we're just going to paint right on over that. My tip is getting a little white or blue already. This one's not working like I hoped. Okay. We will try a different one. This one's got a brush tip. This works. Okay, I'm not getting rid of that blue entirely, but it's fine. It is a screen, so, you know, reflection, right? It's causing that blue. All right, now we're going to go in with the fine line, the finer line, liner pen. The 0.3, which is apparently wet now. I did get some acrylic on it. My bad. So we're just going to line out this ATM. And we are going to wait for that gel on those buttons to dry before I go in and line those. So we're going to save those for last. The screen is getting lined, but the inner boxes are not. Line for the card, line for the receipt. I don't know which one's which, but you know what? They're there. Okay. Visit 2. Happy Father's Day from your favorite financial version. Okay. So yes. Oh, that is nice and yellow. Okay. Well, I didn't want my heat gun to stay white, right? Do Happy Father's Day on the front of the card, as well as that middle bit that it's already written in. Then we're going to do it here. These are definitely messier than my Mother's Day cards. For sure. There we go. And we have gotten 8 Father's Day cards done. Well, 7.5. Because the one, like I said, I still need the writing for. But that is what I wanted to get done today. We are at the 2-hour mark. I do have that meeting at 3, which gives me about an hour to prep and get ready for it. I think we did really, really good today. I'm really happy with how everything is looking and how well I got through everything. You guys have been amazing. I'm so happy to hang out with you pretty much all the time. But I think I'm going to be done here. Like I said, I got to clean up a little bit, and then I got to put stuff away, and then I got to do a lot of stuff. Anyway, I appreciate you all. I love you all. I'm so happy to hang out with you guys, like always. And I will see you guys tomorrow, starting at 1 till about 3. We will, you know what, we'll do some fun painting. Maybe I'll work on the Frontier Days. Maybe I'll work on the last Rat Pig piece we got to do. Either way, I'll be working on one of them. And yeah, I am really happy with everything, how everything turned out. I know I did rush it a bit, but that's fine. That's totally fine. Everything will be Gucci. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you guys tomorrow.